All right, everybody, welcome back. I've just been told I look beautiful today by another person, so I'm feeling on top of the world.
True.
We're getting ready to do the finals here for this modern event. So Zach Allen is going to be playing here again, trying to repeat as a winner and add some more hardware. I really like the build of his deck. I would say going into this mirror match, Drake, what are you thinking?
No, I very much hard to argue with both his deck building approach as well as his actual execution. We talked about Zach Allen disposing of his teammate in Minneapolis in the semifinals in a 4-color mirror. Gets to try to do it again here against Josh Warsaw in the finals, going for, as you said, back-to-back trophies on back-to-back energy events. That's an impressive feat. Zach Allen really showing a lot of I guess, dominance here on the Energy Series, and an impressive showing. And Josh Warsaw, obviously he's dispatched a fair bit of 4-color of his own in this event. So, both players very familiar with the matchup. Both players made it very far in this tournament, but there could only be one winner. Can't be more excited to see how this plays out.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely excited to watch this one. Two players obviously well versed with their decks. It's a tough field. I was talking to Max Kahn during the thing, and we kind of lamented at the fact that we used to do like 80-player tournaments in store, and it's like there's there was always like good players, and there was like a handful like really great players, and now you walk in and you look at it and you're like, well, how do you even win one of these things? It's like it's crazy. Like, I'm washed up beyond belief. I couldn't even like sniff a cash finish in one of these things anymore. So being able to go back to back in the way, like the dominance that you mentioned that Zach has produced over the last couple months is super impressive. And I'm interested to see what his opponent, has to offer. And obviously played quite well. One of the final two remaining players playing quite good deck. So I'm interested to see how this one shakes out. Looks like we're jumping in now. They're shuffling up a little bit, which and check it out. There you go, right there. 2022 championship
trophy
trial
on
winner.
the table. This is what you're playing
good
for.
All the marbles. All the marbles.
All the marbles. It's actually probably not made of marble. I don't know what it is, but
oh, we spare no expense on the Energy Series. Actually, Zach, that thing, Drake, is actually made of marble.
That thing's made of marble. Okay.
Yeah, it's we spare no expense. Clear marble.
I'm impressed. Yeah, I'm impressed with the ingenuity. Not just that you were willing to spare no expense and make a marble trophy, but that it was clear marble. That's impressive.
It's really heavy to ship. So I mean, it is what it is.
Well, it's not heavy for Josh to pick up and move out the way. He says, "I'll take this later. Thank you very much."
Zach, I mean, he has to shuffle an 80-card deck all day. He must be jacked. What do you mean?
He's got those shuffling arms ready to go. They sling trophies. They shuffle Yorion decks. Josh just truly a beefcake.
All right, so both players going to lead on a couple fetch lands here. Zach has the privilege of being on the play here based on that number 5 seed, and Josh is the number 7. It looks like, so pretty big. I would say. Obviously, the turn 2 Planeswalker quite potent in this matchup.
Yeah, which one's that? Which Planeswalker is that? Have we seen that Planeswalker?
Oh, I thought we were gonna be able to see it, but I guess not. I guess there's no Wrenn and Six in Zach's hand.
Oh, okay. Wrenn and Six. Yeah, that's a good one. Tapped land from Zach Allen. And interesting. It looks like Zach might be on a mulligan, given how few cards are in his hand. No turn 2 Wrenn, no turn 2 Counterspell. Josh has to be happy with that.
Yeah, it does. It does look like Zach has only a few cards in hand. So, Josh Warsaw. Shields are down for Zach. This is a good time to jam in if you got anything for Josh.
Yeah, Josh's kingdom for his own Wrenn and Six if he has one.
Oh yeah,
Josh sporting a lot more cards, and sure does. That's gonna be a pretty good one.
Oh, that dice
big die
has to go. That dice has to go immediately. I did not sign up for this.
It's the big die. Josh not only has big arms, big die. He's just got everything. Right, one dead Wrenn and Six though. Prismatic Ending gonna take care of that one.
Yeah, I would say Zach has the answer, which is good. And, Josh accidentally shows off a Solitude. That one's not a land. I know those cards have a lot of text. Yeah, they have a ton of text, but it's not actually a land.
It's not one of those like the flip lands, the cards you can like flip over from the Zendikar Rising. Play that one as a land. Why not? The elementals already do it all. Just play them as lands too.
Please do not give Wizards of the Coast any ideas if you don't mind, Drake. The last thing I
You
want
don't
is
like
for
my
their
card design? I think they should
no.
hire me. I got this.
Take a minute to
Oh.
shuffle here as players playing pretty quickly here the first couple turns.
Yeah, I appreciate that. These rounds are untimed. We are in the finals of our first showing in Michigan, and what a showing it was! Capped Modern event, 4-color mirror in the finals. Zach Allen looking for a repeat performance of the Minneapolis performance, the very last weekend from NRG. He won a trophy, took it home in the legacy seat for the team of Zoe Reederman, Jesse Robkins, and himself. Now looking to win in the modern seat, showing a little bit of range out of Zach Allen.
Yeah, I love Zach's choice for Legacy. He plays like the Days Undoing deck, and that's like one of my favorite decks to watch. It's another one of those decks where like when it turns the corner, it just like puts you in a sleeper hold basically.
Yeah, that's very much true, and very much more Zach Allen's speed than any kind of blue-red Delver shenanigans, which clearly is my weapon of choice if we're talking the legacy format. I love my Is It cards in every format, and you're never going to pry Expressive Iteration from my cold dead hands. Love that card. And speaking of, here's an Expressive Iteration for Josh Warsaw.
Yeah, looks like trying to get ahead on some cards. Zach's in a tough spot.
Yeah.
On a mulligan here.
Hard to argue with that. Zach low on cards and behind on resources. Now, we did see Zach in the semifinals kind of mitigate being behind on mana very well against Jesse Robkin, preventing himself from moving discards, using his resources very, very efficiently, and making sure that he didn't fall too far behind. We'll see if he can do the same while behind on cards. As here is a Teferi Time Raveler. Wonder if we're interested in picking up our Ice-Fang Coatl, draw some more cards, try to catch back up, and that's exactly what we're going to do here.
Yeah, it looks quite good, and again, it's heads up by Zach, so there's a forest in play, a basic forest for Josh, so no counterspell was available that turn. The 2 Triomes are tapped, so good time to try and deploy that Teferi, and it resolves. Draws a card, picks back up that Ice-Fang Coatl, which is going to draw some more cards, and Zach's right back in this game.
Absolutely, and planeswalkers are always part of the equation. We've seen that time and time again when it comes to these mirrors. That static ability from Teferi Time Raveler. It's no secret that one's powerful. Our rare addition from War of the Spark, going to prevent Josh from responding at all going forward until it is removed. And of course, every few turns can end up drawing a card. In this case, going to kind of draw 2 cards by being able to pick up Ice-Fang Coatl, which does have an ETB ability to draw a card.
Sure.
Josh Warsaw adding another forest to the mix.
Lots of forests.
Lots of forests. Very much a sore sight for the Matt Bimonte. I have it.
Oh yeah.
Not a forest player. And here's a Wrenn. That one's going to pick off the remaining Teferi, and a Teferi for Josh. And suddenly, Josh is setting the turn back, convincingly ahead. We'll see what Zach can assemble.
All right, Drake, I'm going to ask you a question. It's not a trick question or anything like that, but okay. You're going to learn a lot about me this weekend, the next few hours. So,
all right. I'm here for it.
How do you feel about planeswalkers?
How do I feel about planeswalkers? Okay, well that's very broad because in general, I think planeswalkers are awesome. I hate the War of the Spark planeswalkers a lot. A lot.
Okay.
Planeswalkers shouldn't also be static stacks pieces. That's really very not my speed.
All right. I can respect that answer. That's very diplomatic. I can respect that.
Yeah, I love whatever, some of the ones that are a lot more modest, like Jace Beleren. Let's go back to the Lorwyn planeswalkers. Those were an awesome
Solemn Visitor. That card's fine.
Sure, yeah, exactly. That card's extremely modest. Teferi of any variety of the blue whites, like Time Raveler, not great. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, not great. Even Jace the Mind Sculptor, I can kind of get behind. It's kind of cool, but that card's obviously over the line in a lot of formats. These Wrenn and Six at 2 mana. Come on, Oko. What are we doing?
What are we doing? All right.
Here's Eternal Witness.
Yeah, that's a different version of the new art. There's so many versions of cards, but I can pick that one out. That's good.
Yeah, that's the old border one I was talking about. See, that's my favorite. That's my favorite Eternal Witness. Give me that
It
old
looks
border. Give me that Chris
it looks
Ron
good.
artwork. Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I
See,
like that.
Josh Warsaw has it figured out. And here's an endurance in response. Going to pitch the Ice-Fang Coatl that was picked up earlier. Don't have 3 mana untapped. So we do have to pitch cast that one to shut down the Eternal Witness. Uh, really valuing that extra card from Eternal Witness.
Yeah.
Zach Allen, it's going to happen.
Yeah, not bad.
Still a 2-1 for Josh's troubles.
This is the back and forth we play with Wrenn and Six and Eternal Witness versus, opposing Endurance. It's quite the chess match.
Have to agree with you there. Going to buy Yorion as well. And return the Misty Rainforest. Josh Warsaw smartly waiting to fetch until after a potential Endurance could happen. So Endurance going to shut down the Eternal Witness, but Wrenn still going to be able to tick up and return the Misty Rainforest that Josh Warsaw just grabbed. Little heads up sequencing there. Endurance should be on your radar. Here's a Prismatic Ending coming after the Eternal Witness instead of the Wrenn and Six. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I guess I would have to ask that because I don't know why we would go after that other than, we just want to preserve our life total, I suppose. But
yeah, maybe keeping your planeswalkers in play is part of the equation, although Wrenn can pick it off. I think maybe he's scared of something like Ephemerate.
Could be that. Yeah.
Either way, Josh Warsaw going to quickly fetch for basic snow-covered plains here. Yorion available. We can only really flicker. That may be the secret here. The Yorion value is a lot lower with no Eternal Witness in play. And we do see Josh Warsaw elect to not even deploy Yorion quite yet. Not enough value that you can even get out of that. I think Wrenn would actually go down in loyalty. So you would really just get a 4/5 flyer for your trouble. We can do a lot better than that, says Josh Warsaw.
This is a huge turn for Zach. If this Wrenn and Six resolves, he's able to get. I think he has an Omnath in hand too, which is a huge play.
For sure. The Omnath, I think we see Zach sandbagging this Omnath turn after turn. We see Omnath plus Fetchland. I think a big part of this is Zach, he knows Omnath is an extremely big part of the equation when it comes to being able to catch back up and honestly, get ahead in this matchup. So now, after the Wrenn happens, the way looks like it might be clear. We're going to go ahead and deploy Omnath. We'll see what Josh has to say about that one. Trigger on the stack. We see this happen by multiple players multiple times. An important sequence. Do not give the active player priority to play their fetch land. Solitude going to come into play. Exile Omnath. Omnath's trigger still going to draw a card.
Yeah, this is these cards, these these evoke cards are just so nuts.
He didn't even evoke it. He cast it for 5 mana.
I know, but think about it. It's so ridiculous.
It is powerful. It's kind of the force of will thing, right? Where it's like a lot of times you're pitch casting these, but the manual mode comes up. Maybe arguably more in this deck than force of will comes up in Legacy. And here's Abundant Growth going to improve the force.
The craziest part to me about this deck is like Josh has done a ton of things this game, a ton, and he still just has 7 cards in hand. He might actually have 8 cards at this point. I think he has 7 cards in hand. Just I tap out, use my mana every turn, keep deploying stuff, and I got 7 cards. Pass.
Yeah, I will say it feels good for those that revel in the pleasures of executing Magic fundamentals. This deck is very much, I guess, a guilty pleasure for that. You get to just tap out every turn, use all your mana, all your cards replace themselves. There's a lot of little interactions that you can optimize. There's a lot of play to this matchup for players that find that to be one of the more exquisite things in life. I find this deck would probably be an extremely good option and something that would be appreciated. For those of you that don't take pleasure in that, maybe a little less interested in the dominating power of this 4-color blink deck as we see a mirror in the finals.
So was down to 6 cards, and now it's going to cast Urion, blink.
Yorion looks to be a little better here, just being able to cash out for a card. Go ahead and, we can exact point into Yorion. Do you want to exile your Yorion with Solitude? No? Okay.
You got to try, I guess, huh? So 7 cards in hand for Josh. I think it's just a pair for Zach. One of them is Omnath, which is quite good, but grind it down here. This is going to be a tough game for Zach to get back into.
Absolutely. Now, if any card can do it, it's going to be Omnath. Omnath into something like an Expressive Iteration could be huge. Even just like maybe Yorion with like a couple other things could be, big enough to get Zach Allen back in this game. And that really is the consistent power of Omnath. Zach potentially could be the first one here to have an unchecked Omnath. Can't really see any other Solitudes in Warsaw's hand to make absolutely sure. Looks like a land the pickup. Going to go ahead and deploy Yorion. This one's going to stifle the bleeding, so Zach does not fall behind on life total. Just pass the turn back.
Imagine just having to play that just as a vanilla 4/5 flyer.
Not indicative of feeling you are very far ahead, I think. I think just the 4/5 flyer for 5 is not the rate that the Blink deck is looking for.
What is this? Okay, so this is heads up by Josh. You can get the 4 points in for free because there's activation on Wrenn looming. So Zach not willing to make
blocking not going to do Zach any good. Can't attack with the Solitude though. That one doesn't get it done. So Yorion successfully holding back the Solitude. Not going to successfully hold back the Yorion itself. As here's an Ephemerate on Yorion. Oh yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Flick the Yorion. Going to go ahead and exile the Solitude and the Abundant Growth. That's going to exile your Yorion when the Solitude re-enters, and Abundant Growth is going to draw a card again. That Ephemerate, if I understand correctly, should be in Rebound. Yep, there we go. Exile zone for Rebound. Put that one on top. Remember that one on upkeep.
Man, it is so gross to watch this deck. When it fires on all cylinders, it is disgusting to watch.
Yeah, you talk about how many things Josh Warsaw is doing. And look, he just spent that turn. Felt like he did a ton of things, but he only committed a single Ephemerate that's going to happen again on next turn.
Exactly.
Lightning Bolt targeting Solitude. Going to happen in combat. Zach stifling the bleeding.
Oh, goodness gracious.
And another Ephemerate on Yorion. Whatever. I don't need the damage. We'll just flicker this, and I will get to draw my card again. Here's Teferi Time Raveler. And suddenly the door looks to be closing very quickly for Zach. Now, Zach Allen, we do know, has access to an Emrakul the Promised in his main deck. So, as much as it looks like he's hopelessly behind, he's not out of this quite yet. Eladamri's Call can find it. He can naturally draw it. And that card could potentially slam him right back into the game.
Yeah. Man.
Wrenn and Six, the pickup. That one's not a Emrakul the Promised End. Will it resolve? It will. Returning Flooded Strand. Hold that one for later Omnaths. Go ahead and pass the turn back. Ephemerate, thinking about casting it. They believe chose not to.
Is there a reason that Solitude wouldn't attack there?
Yeah, interesting to see no Solitude attack with Zach having no cards in hand. Maybe I missed something there. Abundant Growth, going to go ahead and draw a card. Going to fetch.
We're just looking for Emrakul or Eladamri's Call off the top, and we'll see. If that's not good enough, nothing is.
I have to agree with you on that one. And even still, Josh has a lot of resources in hand, so I have to imagine the Emrakul turn for Zach Allen would be very powerful. But, based on what's on board, there isn't exactly, a ton we can do. We can, shoot our own Planeswalkers with Wrenn or whatever. Just not activate other Planeswalkers. But in general, the damage that can be done by just what we see on board isn't overly high. So be relying a lot on whatever Josh has in hand in order to make the Emrakul turn extremely potent.
All right, draws, sends it back.
All right, is it Emrakul the Promised End? Zach pulling the graveyard apart, counting types.
Yeah. It's kind of like the old pickup when you had a Snapcaster Mage. It's like, I'm just going to look through my graveyard real quick. Nothing to see
Let me just let's take a look at this. No big. I'll look at yours too, just for posterity. Just see what you've been through, Just kind of seeing what's the context here. Can't try to telegraph too hard. Zach Allen doing some mana math. Did we have an Emrakul?
No way. Let's see. All right, looks like Josh is going to ask a question away from the table real quick. Some sort of interaction they want to be sure about. I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a ton of micro interactions. We have the Teferi static going. Every card has a triggered ability. Emrakul has a cast ability. There's just so much.
I think there's a dress down in Josh's hand, which does not stop Emrakul because that's on cast. It's not, it's not an ETB ability or
Yeah,
anything
that's
like
not going to
that.
stop anything.
Yeah.
Maybe pointing to Teferi, trying to find out how some stuff works.
All right.
Josh Warsaw, so many lands in play, kind of spilling off screen. Here comes the beatdown. 7 points coming across for Zach, and the door is closing fast. I think this has to be the turn. Even something like a Wrenn down tick could threaten to finish the game quickly if, even an Emrakul happens. So we're going to have to see. It has to be a really good one for Zach Allen. What do we have?
2 lands. All right.
That ain't it.
That's not
So
going to
that
do it.
will end game one. It's interesting to see Zach Allen lose so many game ones or whatever. At least lose this game one in the 4-color mirror, given that he very clearly slanted his deck. But it does seem that he mulliganed low. Josh Warsaw had a very timely Wrenn and Six and was easily able to close this game out.
Yeah. I'm not sure what he mulliganed to. I thought he might have had 5 or 6 cards in his hand there. Obviously, the maximizing your resources is a big deal for these mirror matches. You can gain them back with abundant growths and obviously blinking your creatures over and over again. But yeah, just started off behind and didn't really ever get a chance to turn the corner. And Josh just kind of stuck it to him and kept doing things. Like I mentioned, every turn was doing something, and then had a full grip to gas back up. So good for Josh with taking game one. Sounds like we're going to get to the deck list here in just a second, and we'll go through kind of the sideboard differences here. So Josh Warsaw's deck, you can see there. Again, these decks, I don't think they have a ton for the sideboard matchups. I mean, his Emrakul is hanging out in the sideboard though.
Yeah, a lot of them, that's where they choose to put their Emrakul. If it's not in the main deck, they have one in the sideboard. A big question when it comes to that is how many copies of Eladamri's Call are there to find it? Looks like we saw Jesse had one in the sideboard to pair with the Emrakul. Josh Warsaw, I see at least one copy of Eladamri's Call. Can't get a great look for the total number, but it looks like either way, it's not 4. And I believe Zach Allen has all 4.
Of the Eladamri's Call, I think there's 2 in Zach's deck. There's one. Looks like only 1 here in Josh's deck.
There's only 2 in. Well, either way, that's the big equation when you're talking about Emrakul. When you're talking about Emrakul and the ability to find Emrakul, you're looking at the Emrakul itself, which there's almost always at least one. And then you're talking about what are the differences in the numbers of Eladamri's Call. And that's going to be the big end game, right? Like outside of the Omnath stuff, the Planeswalkers matter a lot. The Omnath stuff matters a lot. And we did see Jesse Robkin successfully, kind of get underneath, take a little bit of a flash tempo role, pairing the counter spells with some of the early bodies. So there's a lot of different approaches you can take based on your hand composition. Being an 80 card deck, your hands are going to look quite a bit different. But in general, these games are going to go long, and the Emrakul can be the trump card. And so you need to be conscientious of your, abilities to find Emrakul and actually having your own Emrakul.
Yeah, that is 2 versus 1 here. So Josh does have 1 Eladamri's Call, and when we look over here at Zach Allen's deck list, there are 2 copies in the main deck. So, the late game fighting for Emrakul or Solitudes or Furies, whatever it is, even Omnath sometimes is Zach has more ability to find those specific cards based on the tutor effect, like Eladamri's Call here.
Yeah, that's very reasonable. And, we talk about this as Emrakul is one of the biggest sideboarding changes. When you're talking about being a dominant deck in the metagame, a lot of times it's still very incorrect to hedge your deck too aggressively in order to beat the mirror. That was something we talked about earlier today, is how much should you, prepare your deck just to beat up on the mirrors? And in general, the answer is not much, because no matter how many changes you make, you don't gain as much of an edge. Your opponent still has access to the same cards you do and are going to have the same play patterns a lot of the time. One of the biggest things you can do in order to swing this matchup is play more Eladamri's Calls and play Emrakul. And that is very much what Zach Allen's doing in this mirror in the finals. But, as much as Zach is doing that, he's approaching it, wanting a little bit of an edge in the mirror. We saw him still lose game 1 to a low mulligan. So it doesn't necessarily guarantee you're going to win the mirror, but I do think Zach is still going to be ahead going into these sideboard games, and he's going to be on the play. So we'll see if Zach can find a little bit of a better 7, at least maybe a 6 with a little bit more action, and give us a little bit more of a competitive game here in game 2.
Sure. Yeah, it's again, Zach was on the play for game 1 also, but we'll see if that helps here
Oh,
once
it's
we board a
right.
little bit. I'm wondering. We mentioned like these lightning bolts and things like that. Is that something you keep in or you shave on? What do you think?
I have to imagine if you're shaving on anything, those are some of the worst things to shave on. The one for ones just aren't so overly exciting. They do a good job of taking care of any kind of eternal witness ephemerate action, but a lot of the time when that's actually on the table, that's something that's happening. It's so late in the game that just having your bolt is probably not going to be enough to claw yourself back in if that's something you're losing to anyway. So I have to imagine there's still some of your worst cards, but in general, like I said, I don't expect sweeping changes in the sideboard games anyway. But I imagine, yeah, part of the equation is going to be trimming down on some of the like worst removal spells, of which lightning bolt's probably at the bottom.
Yeah, and then just kind of grind each other into the card advantage and see. I mean, again, they're grindy matchups. So I saw a lot of people were in the draw bracket early with this deck, but these plays pretty fast. I thought game one was pretty reasonable, and sometimes one player has like a sweeping advantage. Like Josh has turned the corner really hard, and Zach really never put anything together. So I'm gonna hop down there and see game two, see what they get to. Hopefully, both players get to keep their sevens here.
Yeah, I'd love to see a nice competitive Magic here in the finals of our Energy Lansing, our first show in Michigan. Zach,
Yeah,
a
it's
Michigan
it's
native,
great.
showing out for the hometown.
Couple triomes, and looks like Zach has that very powerful turn two with a fetch land, no less, and has Wrenn
Well,
and
this is the
Six.
way you want to do it. Wrenn and Six on turn two, able to get immediate value. Gotta like Zach's position here on the play.
Yeah, quite good. I mean, hey, I would play a green deck if you told me that I could have 2 mana fetch land and Wrenn and Six every time I pass back to my opponent. I'd play a green deck at that point.
Yeah, that's when that was what it would take for you to play a green deck.
Yeah,
Okay. You say you
that's
don't
what I'm
play
thinking.
green decks. Isn't Dredge a green deck? Don't they play Life from the Loam?
I I don't know anymore. What are we doing? Take that big dice off the table. I'm gonna run down
The
there.
big dice. It's
Yeah,
Zach's
yeah.
turn with the big
Don't
dice.
yeah, don't make
Okay, all right. I
don't
have
make
a
me run
theory.
down there.
Maybe the big dice is what is indicative of who is going to win the game, right? Josh Warsaw busts
That
out the
could
big
be.
dice in game one. Now, Zach Allen busting out the big die here in game two. And we don't have enough big die for the both of us. So here is a Wrenn and Six die. Gonna go ahead and tick up Wrenn and return a land, will Josh Warsaw. But Zach Allen gonna get to untap with his Wrenn and Six first. Something like a prismatic ending could take care of Josh's and put Zach firmly in the lead again.
All right.
Draw
So
step's gonna be Eternal Witness. We got a fetch land, expressive iteration among the mix. See exactly what Zach wants to do. I'm sure a Wrenn and Six Plus is going to be part of the equation. What else do we have coming?
yeah,
Both Wrens at 4.
both players with their optimal start here with the turn two planeswalkers, and
Yeah. Zach with an Eternal Witness, not going to be great for trying to pressure this Wrenn. I mean, you can try to force a down tick, but that's really not the way to do it either. Pick the land back
okay.
up. Will Zach Allen? Do we have something like an Ice-Fang Coatl? Looks like we might. That one on instep could do some work to pressure the Wrenn and Six. Have to imagine with us already making our land drops that expressive iteration is probably not too attractive, especially if we're looking for something like a prismatic ending to answer the opposing Wrenn and Six. Then, shooting it off here versus next turn probably not wise. But it is unfortunate having to give Josh Warsaw another turn with the Wrenn and Six completely unchecked.
All right. Well, they're just gonna pass a little bit, and there's that Ice-Fang for Zach.
Nice
Another good way
Fang.
to
I have to
press your
imagine that's on
advantage.
instep. Yeah, we're quickly untapping here and drawing a card. Don't want that one picked off by Wrenn quite yet. At least get a point in first.
Yeah. Yeah. Fury's pretty nice.
If Fury could finish up the Wrenn here if we want. I think expressive iteration going to get cast. Rather cast that one than pitch it to Fury for sure. Josh Warsaw going to respond.
And Zach kind of bluffs the Veil of Summer there. That was
You like
pretty
that?
nice.
Phil Summer would be a blowout. I can't imagine you're supposed to bring all those
No,
cards in the mirror. Are
no
you?
way. Yeah, no way.
Yeah, they don't seem like they answer the big problems here.
Iteration gets counterspelled. I think it's probably a good time for this Fury, honestly. Maybe not. You want to save it for something more impactful.
Yeah, maybe was Zach already ahead on the Wrenn and Six race to ultimate, right? Like talking about like how this card's ultimate, the emblem can close the door on a game just as fast as anything else.
Sure.
That's the thing with Zach. I'm sorry, the 4-color Blink decks threats, right? They all kind of have the potential to snowball a game and end up winning in their own right. Zach Allen gonna go ahead and fetch. Get a great look. Looks like a Triome.
Yeah, looks like a Triome out there.
See if he's interested in pitching a Fury. Gonna pick up a land again.
Yeah.
And just a passing of the turn. Warsaw gonna tick up the Wrenn and Six. Oh no, tick
Nice.
down. Go ahead and take care of the Ice-Fang, and there's a Teferi follow-up. Pass the turn back. Quick magic from Josh Warsaw. No thinking here. Kill your thing. Here's my Planeswalker. Go. Counterspell. Not quite what you want to see under a Teferi.
Yeah. No, this is probably a much better play
Fury
for this Fury. Yeah, I was thinking maybe you can use Wrenn and Fury to get Teferi off the table. That's a big investment, though.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically committing your whole turn just to get Teferi off the table. It does deny Warsaw a card, but when you're already, whatever, this far ahead on cards and, obviously the mana, given that Zach Allen's on the play, maybe you have better options available, but all told, it's not that bad of a play because you do get to still put, you still get to further your own board state, right? Like Fury, pitch casting it on the Planeswalkers is one of the least appealing things you can do because, you're not getting ahead on board. You're just kind of answering something at the cost of cards. Whereas if you're able to hard cast it, you get to put a threat into play that is, obviously very big, the double strike mattering a lot. And you get to take care of, Warsaw's Planeswalkers. And we do see Zach kind of take that line as well. And that's part of what makes these elementals so good. You're referencing the evoke elementals are problematic. They're problematic not just because you can pitch cast them for free, but also, you can just cast them and they're good threats on their own.
Yeah, it's pretty good there for Zach. I mean, that's being able to hardcast a Fury is definitely not that bad.
I would definitely agree. Pass the turn back to Warsaw. Fetches a Triumph on instep. Once again, still behind on the Wrenn race. Gonna need to answer this Fury if Josh wants to keep his Wrenn around. Expressive Iterations to start.
Yeah. This card is very, very good.
And look, there's Expressive Iteration. Take a look at that powerful 2-mana sorcery. Look at the top of the card your library. 1 in the hand, 1 in the bottom of your library, 1 in exile. Can play him this turn. The exiled card, that is. This one freshly banned in Pioneer, our tournament that we're going to be watching after this. So this will be the last of Expressive Iteration you're going to see on coverage today in this match. Very, very powerful 2-mana sorcery. We'll see how Pioneer adapts without the inclusion of Expressive Iteration. And you have to wonder what Modern would look like with that card removed from the format as well.
Yeah, that's true. It'd be probably a little bit different landscape. Good point by our hidden member of coverage who said we need to use this now because we will not be able to show it the rest of the day, which is true.
Very true.
As you mentioned, Drake. So gonna pass it back to Zach. No, I mean this Fury is definitely looming here. I assume Josh has some answer to it.
Yeah, that's not a great answer at this point, right? Yeah, Ice-Fang Coatl doesn't even have Death Touch, would die to the first strike damage from double strike anyway, but would keep Josh Warsaw's Wrenn and Six around. So, you still get to draw a card, but you're kind of just treading water. It's not the trade you're really looking for to optimize Ice-Fang Coatl. You're, like I said, you're just treading water. And now Counterspell shields are down. Zach can deploy Omnath. That's exactly what he's going to do. Go ahead and draw a card. Maybe start generating some mana. And Eladamri's Call is the find. Well, that one's pretty good.
Yeah, that one. That one's obviously going to be quite good several turns from now.
For sure. I mean, this is the squeeze, right? Like, there's a red that's ticking up, threatening to ultimate. There's a Fury that attacks for 6 every turn you don't answer it. Omnath threatens to snowball the game. And then as soon as Zach casts this Eladamri's Call, then there's an Emrakul that can threaten to just slam the door. So just multiple axes of attack for Zach Allen. Josh Warsaw going to deploy his own Omnath. Zach going to respond. Have to imagine that counterspell he drew earlier is going to find itself a nice target.
Yeah, quite good here.
Absolutely. A little fetch and shock. Counterspell that Omnath. Can't let that one happen. If Zach gets to untap with Omnath here, it may be all over.
Yeah, it's quite
An
good.
attack for 10 among the floor of what will happen this turn.
Yeah, definitely. A pair of fetch lands too for Zach. So
That's
he's
a
already
lot.
able to keep it going.
Can we Eladamri's call for Emrakul and cast it this turn?
I'm trying to count how many cards are down there. So there's instant sorcery land, and I believe there's an Ice-Fang in there. I'm not sure if that's an Ice-Fang or not.
I think
I
it
think
is.
there's
Yeah, I
three
think it
types.
got picked off by Wrenn. So yeah, that would be instant sorcery creature land. That's 4
13.
types.
Yeah, it's 13, I believe, exactly with the reduction.
Ooh. Well, we'll see what Zach Allen decides to do. It may not be necessary, but decklists are open. It's not like you're hiding any information by not going for it. I just want to see Emrakul on the camera.
Sure. Oh yeah. Yeah, why not?
Why not?
And looks like just the Eternal Witness with the mana. And again, there's mana floating from that Omnath when the fetch land entered the battlefield.
Very true. You got 4 mana floating. Eternal Witness. Gonna return Counterspell. Arguably the more conservative play.
Yeah.
Assuming our mana math is correct. But either way. Oh. All right. Well. Expressive Iteration gonna find Counterspell number 2 alongside a Wrenn and a land. Have to imagine that Counterspell number 2 is something you are pretty interested in. Gonna go ahead and get that Wrenn and 6 out of the way.
Yeah, this one feels like the door is closing rather quickly on Josh here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not like it's even garbage time either. Like, actually, Josh is just dead on board, assuming this attack goes through without any fight. Yeah, and absolutely. Looks like there's an Ice-Fang Coatl. I'm going to go ahead and counterspell that one in combat. No, thank you. And that'll be a crunch for 10. Oh, no, we're going to get the Planeswalker off the table. Very heads up. Either way, I think it's still lethal on board, right? We have 12 damage next turn, 13 with the Wrenn. So, and Zach's still representing a copy of Counterspell. Has Eladamri's call and instep as well. Josh gonna need nothing short of quite a turn, a miracle of a turn, in order to claw his way back into game number 2. But either way, it looks like we may get all 3 games of our finals here.
Yeah, this is a pretty good one for Zach as it played out. And again, the turn 2 start of with the Wrenn and Six kind of just set the tone for that entire game there. And as we get ready to go to a game 3, like you said, so super good start. Obviously, both players had their Wrenn and Sixes, but being on the play is a big deal. That's for sure.
Can't deny that. And that game played out kind of what I think a lot of viewers would expect when you're talking about a 4-color blink mirror. We've seen some interesting roles taken by various players, given certain game contexts throughout the 4-color blink mirrors that we've seen across the weekend. And there, I mean, it literally was just a traditional slugfest of card advantage. And, you know, for some people, that's something they're super into. I frankly don't mind it. Others that are maybe a little more combo and proactive inclined, a little less appealing, but no matter what, some impressive showing and impressive navigation by both players as we get a game 3 with Josh Warsaw on the play for the first time in this match. You know, Zach a little bit behind then already off the gate, right?
Yeah, I'm just gonna call it now. We're gonna see Emrakul this game. It has to be.
We have to.
I just have to see one. So, but yeah, like you mentioned, being on the play for Josh, finally in game 3, is going to be a big deal. The turn 2 planeswalker, like the abundant growth in the turn 2 planeswalker is kind of where you want to be. And again, you get to, just like we saw Zach do, was able to like play a creature and just kind of ride it out, you know, with a counter spell. Use Eternal Witness to bring back another counter spell, and just able to push that advantage finally across the finish line. So Eventually, your opponent gets killed by your creatures. So that's kind of where we're at.
You're right. You just tread water on resources, and then eventually you'll win with whatever scraps are left. And the Fury kind of really being very emblematic of that. That Fury that was held, chose not to pitch cast that one, waited till turn 5, gave Josh another turn with the Wrenn and Six, but did end up hard casting it. It happened and took care of the Teferi. Wrenn finished the Teferi off. And then from then on, that Fury was just an imposing threat, being a 3/3 double strike throughout the rest of the game, and was a big part of the mix for pushing Zach over the finish line. Exciting game 3 here.
Yeah,
There's a lot on the line for both
yeah.
these players.
I think something that players that maybe play that deck can take from that game, especially. I mean, there's a lot of things, but you mentioned the pitch cast not happening for the Fury and valuing not valuing how high up like the Wrenn and Six was going to be, right? Because you could have done that right away and gotten Wrenn and Six off the table, but able to leave it on the table a few turns. Said, you know what, we're just gonna. That's fine. You're gonna pick up lands every so often. That's cool. We're gonna do the same thing, and then saving it for either a more problematic creature, whether it's an Omnath or something like that, or problematic Planeswalker in Teferi. I think really shows Zach's knowledge of how Fury should operate in the mirror match like that. So if you're looking for something to take from that game as a 4-color player yourself, I think that's a big lesson to be learned from that game.
It definitely. I mean, Zach Allen's certainly one of the people that knows his way around some card advantage mirrors. A control player to heart through and through, 4-color blink. Pretty emblematic of a lot of the control style patterns. And, Zach Allen's an expert among that. And looking for back-to-back trophies and back-to-back energies. An impressive performance here, a mainstay of the Energy series at this point in his home state of Michigan.
Yeah.
Exciting timeline for Zach.
Yeah, Zach assured me that Saturday's event, so now it's spilling into today, Sunday's event, would sell out, and he was right. So we had about 315 players. We're down to 2 here, and in about 10, 15 minutes, we're going to have just 1. So really great showing from the Michigan crowd, and again, all of our other regulars that traveled. So thanks for that. I know I spoke to Sean Gallagher yesterday in an interview. He told me he traveled this many hours to get to this event
Wow.
by driving, which is crazy. It's amazing to see just how many people show up to our events. So again, there you can get on our website and check it out. Make sure to pre-register for all those events if you haven't already. If you're planning on coming. And again, the seasonal thing is really cool. How you get to qualify. So this is the first event of season 2. Today, starting just next round will be Pioneer, will be the second event of season 2. You can see all the dates listed here that we just brought up, and we qualify players every season. So don't think because you're behind on the overall point race that you can't qualify, because you most certainly can, whether it's a one-shot event or if you can string enough points together on the seasonal leaderboard to qualify. That is certainly attainable. So our end of the year championship is an amazing tournament too.
Very much agree. I love the work being done over here, and you can see the at large points, what these are worth, and what these qualify you for. Got an end of the year NRG Series Championship. Ivan Espinosa won last year's, and so he gets to play again. See him there, number 20 on the leaderboard.
Yeah, good for Ivan. Had a great year last year. Has a pretty decent year rolling this year. Obviously, he's not at this event, unfortunately, but yeah, still down there in number 20. And all these players that are in orange obviously are qualified for the championship, as you mentioned there. And then the players in white are the next ones, kind of moving up. A decent showing, I believe, by Zoe Riederman yesterday. Max McVitie had a rough day. I believe he went 0-2 and went actually next door to the. There was like a hot tub convention or something like that. I believe he
Good
went
for
and checked
him. I
out.
love
So
that
yeah,
for him.
so yeah, good for him. Zach County seeing number 7 is going to move really high up up the leaderboard here. I'd be surprised if he doesn't move up to at least 4th place here after this weekend. So trying to capitalize and grab 30 points though here with this game 3 on the line.
Like you said, definitely a lot on the line for Zach Allen at number 7. Currently would be on the outside looking in for this season's qualifications. Zoe Riederman had a good performance here, but with Zach Allen potentially winning this tournament, could be coming from one of those end of season 2 slots for the NRG Championship. He's certainly off to a good start here on the finals of this event here on the draw for game number 3.
On the draw for game number 3, and Josh Warsaw does not have. Neither player actually has turn 2 Wrenn and Six, but going to go ahead and sit down this Ice-Fang Coatl.
Ice-Fang Coatl, a good way to do it. It's a Ice-Fang Coatl. One of the elegant things about this card that I've found is when you're playing these styles of decks that hold up mana a lot of the time for counterspell, if you don't have to commit your counterspell, you get to just cast an Ice-Fang for your trouble. It's not wasted mana. And I think that gives the card a lot of power over, I'd say, originator Baleful Strix, which does not have the flash mechanic.
Yeah, it just goes ahead and replaces itself, and it does a lot to fill this deck again. Just I remember playing this card when Oko was legal, and that was just like it was so embarrassing to play against people that weren't playing Oko and Ice-Fang Coatl because they'd come to attack. Like, oh, finally I get to attack this Oko off the table. You just slam this thing, and you're like, yeah, here's this blocker that also sometimes has
here's this 1/1.
Yeah, well, most of the time has Death Touch, and your creature's dead. My Oko stays around. So,
and even if it wasn't dead, you just plus up on the Ice-Fang and upgrade it to a 3/3 after it already drew a card. It's like, okay, well, now it's just better in combat and laying the beat down. Just Ice-Fang and Oko certainly went hand in hand, an impressive synergy. Although Oko doesn't need that much help to begin with. Card's messed up undeniably.
Yeah, pretty good.
Zach gonna flash in an Ice-Fang of his own. We do see a Wrenn and Six in Zach's hand. 3 mana representation from Josh Warsaw. Probably don't want to run that one directly into a counterspell. So Zach very quickly just gonna play 3rd land past the turn. Shock for Josh Warsaw. Breeding Pool is untapped and a passing of the turn. In-step fetch. Probably grabbing a Triome.
It's
developing
really
mana, getting all the colors.
Yeah, I was thinking it's really funny because in game 2 we watched them tap out for like the first 4 turns in a row, and in this game it's just like land go, flashing my flyer, land go. It's so funny how this deck is just able to play like both roles so well.
Yeah, like that's what we were talking about earlier, right? Is the flexibility of this deck, right? Like you can try to just flash a bunch of creatures in and play this like almost like flash tempo deck with your endurances and your elementals that have flash and Ice-Fang Coatls and all that stuff. Or you can take a more traditional control approach by pitch casting all the elementals, using them as removal and recouping card advantage with things like the Omnaths and the Wrenn and Sixes and Yorians. So being able to really pivot and take any of these roles like you just mentioned really just gives this deck so much power. And Wrenn actually is going to resolve, but response to the plus, here comes Endurance.
I like that play a lot from Josh. Really heads up. Gonna stop Zach from grabbing another land here. And Zach has Counterspell in hand, so choosing not to value that Endurance very highly, which I think is probably the right play at this point.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because now if you want to keep your if you want to keep your Wrenn and Six around, you have to make some kind of block with Ice-Fang. And I have to imagine if Josh Warsaw is going to commit any kind of removal spell to get your own Ice-Fang out the way so that he can attack Wrenn and Six uncontested, you have to be somewhat interested in counterspelling that, right? Whereas you're not in that position if you counterspell Endurance. What do you think's going on there?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think Zach just says, you know what, if my Wrenn and Six gets taken off the board, like so be it,
Sure.
Going to make some good trades here. You're going to be able to trade that. And maybe gets one more activation out of Wrenn. I think that's probably just good enough for what Zach's thinking.
Yeah, like you said, being able to trade the Ice-Fang for a little bit of resources from Josh Warsaw, notably the Ice-Fang Coatl of Josh's own, as there is no Death Touch for Ice-Fang Coatl right now, one of the downsides to this iteration of the 2-mana 1/1 flying Death Touch cards. We mentioned Baleful Strix earlier, not legal in the modern format, sadly. I think the format maybe be a little bit better with some Baleful Strix. I love
why not?
Get some black in the mix here.
So this is a test spell here for Zach, and Josh is going to let it resolve.
Yeah,
pretty big pickups. Yeah.
Ephemerate, Abundant Growth. Yeah.
And another
growth going to help fix the mana situation too. That's nice.
Yeah. Big for Zach. Gets the fetch. Gets to pick it up with Wrenn. Just continue to press that advantage. And like I mentioned, I think he's okay. You got what you wanted out of the Wrenn and Six. You picked up a couple lands now, and is able. It kind of acts as like a fog for a few turns. If Endurance is going to go at that instead of your life total, you're probably happy.
Yeah, you like it. It's just like a 2-mana land tax. It soaks up some damage.
Yep, not a bad rate.
You know what? Looks like Zach might agree with you here. Grabbing a basic planes, he obviously wants to hold up counterspell, but abundant growth is going to let that happen. What if there's any merit to like counterspelling this abundant growth or something? If you're Josh Warsaw, just go ahead and I don't know, stop a little bit of mana development and put shields down on counterspell. Ice-Fang Coatl going to happen either way. And untap and draw. We'll see what Josh can assemble. There is a counterspell for Zach Allen. Going to try to get this Wrenn off the table successfully.
Yeah.
Looks like Elemental Tribal in Zach's hand. Multiple copies of Omnath, maybe a Solitude on the mix.
I think Zach's just looking for one more land, and he finds it. Because he can hold up Counterspell and Omnath together. I'm not sure if he just passed back there. It looks like he may have.
I think he might have. I think he's looking to maybe answer some of this board a little bit. We have like things like an Endurance and an Instep Solitude. We also still have Counterspell. Zach most likely interested in kind of trying to catch back up on board before he makes any kind of moves, because that's really how you're going to pressure Josh Warsaw's mana.
Oh, wow. Josh is going to... Again, this is the weird thing where Josh is going to play this 5 mana flash creature and just try and beat Zach down, it looks like.
Yeah, this is right. This is the plan, right? When your hand's flush with creatures, oh, you know what you can do? You can just turn the corner by starting to flash them in. I don't need to play this card advantage game. I'm just gonna flash these clowns in and try to kill you across 2 turns. Like, look at this. That adds the 7 points of power to the board. So we're looking at like a total of 7, 3 for each elemental, and then a 1/1 Ice-Fang. Zach at 13. That's a 2-turn clock.
Yeah. And he flashes in Endurance.
Endurance gonna be the response here. That's one, like a little bit of consideration here. I think that the decision is between Solitude and Endurance. Solitude obviously answers more of the board more cleanly. Endurance allows you to hold up counterspell as well. Zach opting for the latter decision.
And let's not forget about the hidden mode on Endurance where it has reach as well, I believe. So can block that Ice-Fang for a little bit too. Get rid of that.
Yeah, Death Touch is still not online for Josh.
Yeah, not online. It looks like this is just... Yeah, this is a really weird game right now.
Yeah, we were talking about the different roles we could take earlier in this game, and we see this in action as Josh flashing these creatures in, kind of forcing Zach to commit some of these creatures a little prematurely. Endurance, an excellent blocker though. 4 points of toughness means it does a great job trading with a lot of the other elementals and butts heads with other endurances nearly indefinitely. Josh going to try a prismatic ending to get the endurance out the way. We'll see if Zach's interested in counterspelling, and he is. Interesting. So this shows that Zach has recognized that Josh's plan is to kill him across 2 turns and is kind of pivoting his game plan. That counterspell most likely previously saved for things like whatever Eladamri's call and Omnath especially. Now having to commit it for a prismatic ending on an endurance. And an attack for 7. Fury Pitch, it looks like, is going to actually remove the endurance post counterspell. And Zach is going to take that big hit for 7, going down to 6. Once again, dead on board, but Warsaw pretty low on resources at this point. Interesting. Will this be enough? Big turn from Zach, facing down lethal on board. 2 cards in the end for Warsaw. We know there's an Omnath in Zach's mixture.
Yeah, this is crazy. It's just so crazy. I know I've said it 100 times now about the role reversal and the way they can pivot so easily. It's just nuts to watch.
Yeah, no kidding. Zach is taking the same role every time for sure. Very much about the card advantage. And counterspell coming down in this Omnath. That could do it. If there's no response from Zach Allen, we'll see what he has. Looks like no fight
really
there.
well.
I have to agree with you there. Josh Warsaw choosing to pivot when he did, using his pitch cards and his counter spells as simple tempo plays alongside these flash creatures. Looks like it might be enough to dispatch of Zach Allen here and Dream Crush the back-to-back trophies for Zach Allen.
Man.
see. A lot to think about here.
Yeah, I think there's a Solitude hanging out with an Omnath, but it's a big price to pay.
For sure. That
Get,
counterspell, a big
get,
problem.
yeah, I mean, I think Zach's actually forced to do this, though.
Yeah, maybe picking a spot about when he wants to fire it off. Looks like there might be like an Eternal Witness among the mixture as well.
Yeah,
So Eternal Witness can be by the Omnath later on, right? So we can Solitude the hardest thing to block, which is probably Endurance, although that doesn't fly. Then take a hit for 4, go down to 2. Though we have 2 fetch lands in play, right? So maybe you could play
yeah.
Eternal Witness and return a white card for Solitude, and that's 2 blockers.
And you just
That
gotta
might be
hope
what
that
we're
Josh has.
thinking about.
You gotta hope Josh has nothing.
I mean, Josh has 1 card, right? Like, if he has more things,
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
very dead. And you certainly can't let Josh Yorin you on any kind of an aggressive timeline. Looks like
Right.
Zach going to go ahead and fire off the Solitude now on the Endurance. See if he's interested in playing the Eternal Witness as well. He's
All right.
not. Pass the turn back. Here's an attack
Whip.
for 4.
Eternal Witness for counterspell is brutal.
Oh, no. And that Eternal Witness for Counterspell might just seal it up.
Yeah, what I mean,
All right. Well, there's my face-up Counterspell. Your turn, says Josh Warsaw. Is there an out? What can Zach Allen assemble? Do we have, is Emrakul online? Is that an out?
so if his last card is Eternal Witness, or he has 2 cards, if one of them is Eternal, oh, he's at 2 now though. Yeah, it's
Yeah, he
so
can't
rough.
fetch twice.
Zach down to
This
1.
is a big problem. Can fetch once, going to do so, fetching to 1. Wrenn and Six, notably a kill at any point from here on, if drawn by Josh Warsaw. At least the Omnath enters the mix.
Gosh, he has
What
a Supreme Verdict. Zach has Supreme Verdict in his deck.
Ooh, Supreme Verdict. That's an out. Maybe Zach's looking through his deck, seeing what there is.
Oh yeah, I just saw him shuffle past one. Oh, imagine if he had Supreme
Yeah.
Verdict here.
That would be,
Oh,
that'd
man.
be a good
Oh,
one. That would be a good one.
I might erupt if that happens.
And ironically, Josh Warsaw can't even present lethal again on the following turn. He's missing
Right.
a land in order to play buy Yorion and play it to present lethal on the following turn. So Supreme Verdict would buy Zach at least an extra turn.
Oh man, if he hits this thing, he's gonna go nuts.
All right, Zach. Big draw step here.
What was it?
Is it a top deck? Didn't get a good look.
I think it's Ephemerate, actually.
Ephemerate. Okay. We have Eternal Witness.
Maybe not.
If Eternal Witness gets counterspelled, then it's all over.
Yeah.
And Warsaw taking a look at the graveyard.
All right, just 2 lands. All right. Well, Josh Warsaw picks up the dub. Really?
Counterspell is going to win this game, match, and tournament for Josh Warsaw. Wow. What a performance.
I don't know if he caught at the end there. He flicked out the Supreme Verdict in his deck too. So, man, Josh played really well there. That third game was a clinic. You and I've talked about it a bunch, but just being able to pivot into the aggressive, flash my creatures in, attack you, make you answer the board was a huge deal. And Josh figured that out really early, which was a huge key to that game.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. And it's interesting. We saw Zach's opponents both in the semifinals and finals kind of pivot to that game plan to great effect. Ultimately did not convert for Jesse Robkin, but was able to successfully convert for Josh Warsaw. So an impressive performance for him, recognizing the need to pivot his role in that match. And, you know, like I said, he's rewarded with a victory, a whole bunch of money, and a whole bunch of NRG series points. And so suddenly he's off to a great start for the season 1 qualification for the NRG series championship.